We're going to call this meeting of the Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Board of Directors to order. The time is 7:03, July 23rd, 2021. First thing we're going to do is have an invocation from Brian Elling.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for your goodness. We thank you for the love you have for each one of us. We just pray that we'll be mindful of that love and that grace that you bestow on us, and may we apply grace and love and mercy to those that are around us. We just thank you for this place. We thank you for this night, this time together. We just pray that as a board that we will continue to work in unity and come together as one to represent the members and to do what's best for the park. And we just thank you for an opportunity to serve, and just thank you for those that come alongside and support us as well. We just ask for a blessing on our time, give us strength as we enter into the new weekend, and we just thank you for blessing us with another beautiful weekend, and just keep us safe in all that we do. And we just thank you again for your goodness and your love to us.
Can we rise to the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is made one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kimberly, could you do the roll call?
Alan Carpenter.
Here.
Brian Allen.
Here.
Jenny Baker. Here. Jim Hoff.
Here.
Kelly Johnson.
Here.
Dennis King.
Here.
Larry Munger.
Here.
Paul Pepple.
Here.
Stephanie Buchanan.
Here. He's the little box here, and he's going to do the approval of new park members. Jeff, could you tell us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. New park members for June, we had 19 total sales. Sales department had 7. For sale by owner had 11. 1 transfer. 38 new members total. 10 members were in their 30s. 14 members were in their 40s. 4 members were in their 50s. 4 members were in their 60s. And 6 members were in their 70s. Total of 38.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the new members.
So moved. Second.
Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The next order of business is the approval of the notes from June of this year. Kimberly sent those out to the board of directors earlier today. We've made some corrections. Is there any other questions, any other corrections or questions?
It says write-in questions. It's just the word and should be the word and, A-N,
Okay, thank you.
when talking about the phase 3 cartridge.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next order of business will be to approve the names of 2 members who have asked to join the pool committee. The pool committee was comprised of members of the board of directors. We were just trying to get some things ready and look at some proposals, and we had some members that want to join, so we'll actually become a regular committee, you know, with member input and try to develop something over the summer. And hopefully in the fall, we'll have something we can send out for survey. The names of the two members that applied were Diane Rhonda and Sherry, I want to say this right, Utting. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve these members of the pool committee.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll move on to finance. Ginny, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Sure. Last week, Wednesday, July 14th, the finance committee met. We had a quorum, but I think we were missing one member. We also would like more members if anybody's interested or knows somebody that is interested in finances or has some background in finance. We could use another member or two, so spread that word for us. We'd love it. We did meet on July 14. We went through the check distributions for both the Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails and the golf course. Had some good discussion on this year compared to last year and how different things looked and how things look great, and the park is thriving. Everything was approved unanimously, the financial statements and the check registers. We had some discussion regarding the budget, and we'll be voting on that as a committee and then as a board next month, and that'll be for next fiscal year. We've had some really good discussion this year. The finance committee has really gotten involved in looking at things and discussing some new things, including this building and the lake, a bunch of different things of how fees and different finances will be used to support these things. So we've had some great discussion and we'll vote on that next month. I think that's all.
Kimberly, would you like to present to us some information on the Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails financial statements?
Sure. Operation cash as of June 2021 for Sandy Pines is down approximately 22% over prior year. I do want to note though, after the receipt of the final FEMA reimbursement for the nursery building, operational cash balance will actually be up 7.5% over prior year. I actually just had some discussion with FEMA directly today, and they did say they're a little bit behind in their submissions because they're very short staffed, like a lot of places within the road today. So, but they do not have any hesitation that we should see that shortly within the next few months. So I will be keeping an eye on that as well. The Charles Schwab investment account as of the end of June, we have not had much change in that account, but it's staying safe there and it's up just under 1%. Current liabilities for Sandy Pines is up 3.5% compared to last year. Total net income is down 8%. I want to make note of the items that affect that. Gross income is up 6.9%. So that means we are active with our operations and income within the park, but our cost of goods sold is affecting the overall net income, as that is up 17.5%, and operational expenses are up 9.1%. So this is a comparison to June 2020. So I just want to kind of mention that in 2020, we're at a little bit of a stagnant operations with not much activity going on. So it's just natural that we're going to have more operations in this 2021 season with our expenses. Utilities, another item that is significantly impacting our net income is our utilities. That is up specifically 34.5%. This is a result, resulting in increased kilowatt usage with the running of the well pumps much earlier in the season than normal. I've done some investigation with consumers to actually confirm that. And then also the new utility costs attributable to the new North Shore building that we were expecting is also in that. But another item that many consumers are finding across the board, both residential and, commercial, is just the cost of utilities. The kilowatt pricing has gone up compared to last year as well. So that is, affecting Sandy Point somewhat. Net income was also impacted by the significant reduction in, gain on sale of investments. So, and that was just specifically, we actually saw more gain on the sale of investment in prior year with our Schwab account, and that's, not as high on the income side this month or this year. So those are my notes for Sandy Point for June 2021.
Do any of the board members have questions or comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the financial statements of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any questions on the motion? Final chance? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Kimberly, would you like to discuss the Lake Monterey financial statements, the golf course?
As of June 2021, for Lake Monterey Golf Course, operation cash is up approximately 3.5% from prior year. I do want to note that 2020 operational cash was overstated by $54,050, and that was just a result of a late journal entry posting, which was showing the cash received for capital funds and moving that to the SP Golf assessment. So with that change, operation cash for June 2021 compared to June 2020 is actually up 3.5%. Current liabilities are down 61%. Total net income is up 14.8%. The net income is specifically related to total gross revenue and is up 7.8%, and cost of goods sold is up 37%. Total operation expense is up 3.3%, and it is attributable to the increase in electricity, trash service, fuel usage, and an increase in repairs on the golf course in 2021. I do also want to note one small item that I did not bring up with Sandy Pines, but it does relate to Lake Monterey and Sandy Pines, and that is that we have recently completed the tax review and financial statement audit or review for both Sandy Pines and the golf course, and our accountants have actually been reaching out to us on another credit that may be available to us on that side, and that will affect the 2021 season, looking at a possible reimbursement of credit for us. So I'm investigating that and looking to apply for some insight on that, and we'll keep the membership posted. And that credit is actually the employee reimbursement credit. So for retaining employees, and during the season when the membership or when the park was shut down due to government regulations, we were able to bring as much of our staff back, and there's a credit possibly available to us. So we will be pursuing that and seeing what would be available to help the operations as well. So I just wanted to add that on a little bit.
Nice.
Any of the board members have questions or comments about the golf course financial statements? I'll accept a motion to approve the financial statements of Lake Monterey Golf Course for June 2021.
So moved.
Support. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Kimberly, could you discuss with us on the budget, the preliminary budget?
Sure. On a month-by-month basis, we have followed up on a review of the budget, just so that we aren't looking at that in May and then just kind of leaving it stagnant, looking at it again just before approval in August. So month by month, we've been looking at different opportunities available to us. And one item that we are specifically looking at, and it's been brought up for discussion with the lake study improvements, is fee being added to the boat stakes. We are reviewing multiple options on that, and we actually have a total of 9 or 10 possible solutions. I'm not sure if Jeff wanted to add anything else to that, but we have, as a board and administration and finance committee, been looking at all options available to us.
Okay.
Can I have a quick question? On the new fees for the votes, the fee operations go, or the fee monies go into operations, is that correct?
They do go into total operations, yeah.
So none of the new fees will be used for capital expenditures for the lake?
We are working and looking at the expenditures for those lake improvements, some of them that will be operational expenses. Those fees will go to cover those expenses.
What are some of the operational fees that you see or expenses that will be, these funds will be used for?
We're actually, one thing that we're still in that preliminary review of that, but we are looking to get some more detailed information from the Lake Study Committee in regards to what those expenses are, what the budget for those are, and whether they are going to be operational or capital. That is one thing that we've been looking for and they've been working on.
Those things like the riprap that we're talking about, is that going to be operational expense or is that going to be a capital?
The riprap would be a capital expense, and the pumps would also be a capital expense.
But the electricity used, generate the new pumps will be operational.
Exactly, yeah.
Is there any likelihood that any of those speed money will be moved over to capital to help cover some of the capital costs?
If necessary, by direction of the board.
Okay, thank you.
Larry, just to add to that, we have discussed that in the finance committee, about the possibility of looking at if we do some capital improvements to the lake, that these fees are targeted for, that we would definitely, as a finance committee, recommend to the board that they move some money to capital to cover those expenses, because it could get to be some big numbers. So yes, we have discussed that. Thanks for bringing that up.
Okay.
One more question I ask. When are we going to see a preliminary capital reserve budget?
Kim, do you want to speak to that? We kind of hit on that.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit at the finance meeting and the board meeting, and I will be presenting that close review to the finance committee and board for review at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, typically we vote on that in August, the capital and the operational budgets.
Right. As of now, we got 1 month, and being new to this, I want plenty of time to look that over, to form a judgment and have my questions ready.
And Mary, I'd like to offer as well too, if at any point you want to stop in my office, I'd be happy to walk through that individually with you, and we can look through it together.
All right, thank you.
Okay, anything else on finance? Next item on the agenda are my comments. I wanted to welcome all of you that gave up your Friday night, you came here to attend this meeting. We really appreciate your commitment and your involvement. And when we talk about involvement, I'm going to put another plug in for committees. We desperately need some people. Safety and security is another one that we need people on. Finance committee. You don't have to be an expert in anything. You don't have to have special education. We want your opinion and your insight when we make decisions that will affect you, I also want to thank all the people, staff and volunteers that are keeping our recreational and 50th events going this year. We couldn't do it without our volunteers. We had pretty good turnout for Family Fun Day. I think we wrapped 1,200 hot dogs and sold tons and tons of food, along with all the fun the kids had. So that was completely a complete success. But one thing that the board is kind of concerned, and I'm concerned about, is we're having some incidents with guests, associates, teenagers, some violations of the rules, some pretty tough stuff. And, some of it's speeding and recklessness and foul language and, a few other things that I won't detail. But I would really like to stress that as members, we're responsible for our guests, for our associates, for our kids, for our grandkids, and we also should be role models for those kids. Our driving is what they see. And I think, we can tighten up a little bit, put down the cell phone, drive the speed limit, do your hand signals. So I think, we need to be good role models for those kids, but we also need to exert some parental supervision. I think that would go a long way with some of the issues that are going on. Jeff?
Yes, thank you, Ellen. Can you hear me? Okay.
We're gonna put the mic on you.
Okay. Again, to reiterate some of the words Ellen was saying about, let's lead by example. We just need to make certain that we're following the rules. Our parents are leading by example, and we should be good. A couple of things on the operational end. We had roughly 50 to 55 boat sticker violations over the last month or so. I apologize. We had public safety drive around, and again, it's the responsibility of our members to make certain that we have our boats registered, stickers on the water, in order to put those boats in the lake. So it's the middle of July. No excuses for not having stickers on our boats. So let's just please follow the rules on that. In regards to safety and security, we still continue to have pool operations questions about the lines, about the number of individuals in the pool. Our safety and security committee gave us a great write-up from the state of Michigan. Just so our members are aware, we are currently staffed with enough lifeguards to support 125 to 150 members in the pool area. And that's a state requirement based on the number of lifeguards staffed at that time. So we're continuing to look at our pool operations. And again, I know Ellen had talked earlier about our pool committee. We've got a lot to do in that area. So please continue to be patient with us. The last item I'd like to bring up is the election reminder. August, we do have an election coming up. The polling station is going to be centralized into the North Shore lower level. We're only going to have that one polling station. We have limited volunteers to do our election process, and North Shore seems to be centrally located, so that's a good spot for it. And ballots have been and are available starting this past week. You can pick them up in member service and make certain everybody comes out to vote. We have 4 director positions open, 3 for a 3-year term and 1 for a 1-year term. And the highest vote getters will get the 3-year term, and then the 1-year term will be on the lowest vote getter. So please come on out and make certain that you're supporting the park and voting. That's all I have.
Okay, under old business, Jeff, could you talk about the license plates?
Yes, so we could, thank you, Ellen. We keep bringing up our license plates. So as everybody's aware, our license plates have been handed out and you guys are making appointments. The due date remains Labor Day weekend. We're currently 60 to 65% complete with handing out our license plates. So for those of you that have made your appointments at public safety, thank you. We still have roughly 35 to 40% of the members that need to come out and get those license plates. We will start adhering to them, the rules, again, Labor Day weekend. So there's still plenty of appointments available. I know there's been a challenge for weekend appointments. They are stacking up and pretty booked on weekends. We're gonna have to adjust and start doing the during the week. Those weekday appointments are open. We will start enforcing the license plate rules Labor Day weekend.
Okay, could you update us on the Prox cards?
Yes, so we have been asking, we have been getting lots of questions about the implementation of moving from the mag strips to the Prox cards. We continue to work through the execution of that. Right now, the plan is on the renewals that are going to be coming out next year, there will not be a mag strip card option available. We had gone back and forth as to when we want to have all of our Prox cards implemented, ready to go. I know I discussed last board meeting, we wanted them by the start of next season. As we sat down as a team, we physically cannot do that by April 15th, even into May. So what's going to happen is on your renewals, there will not be a mag strip pricing option. Everything will go to Prox cards. Those Prox cards will be available for pickup through the entire season next season. We're going to add some extra card readers, which actually makes the cards. So you'll have multiple areas and options to come and pick up those cards. And we do have some old information on a lot of our members as far as pictures and things of that nature. So in order to do it right, we're going to take the entire season, next season. You can come into multiple spots. We'll provide additional communication as to where those spots are at to pick up your Prox cards and get some updated information into the system as we roll out our new computer system next season. So we will extend the Prox card timing and date from the beginning of the season to October of 2022.
Okay, thank you. Our next item of business under new business, we need to approve the ballot. We had, as Jeff said, in our election, we have three-year terms available and one-year term, which will be the remainder of Chad's term after he passed away. Honestly, I think the highest vote getter should be able to opt for the one-year term if they want it. But, that's just me. We had 4 candidates who successfully submitted nomination petitions, and they are Ellen Carpenter, Kelly Johnson, Stephanie Stepania, and Scott Wyman. So those will be the names on the ballot. Can I have a motion to accept the ballot?
Motion to approve. Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. The next item under new business is the approval of the election committee. As Jeff said, we only had 3 people volunteer this year. That's going to be a lot of work for those 3 people on election day, because they will have to get all of us through, count the ballot, open the ballots and count the ballots, If you can possibly consider doing, an absentee early ballot at admin, that will help things greatly because then they won't have to actually have that many voters going through. The three individuals who volunteered are Chuck Adams, Donna Adams, and Diane Peck. I really, again, I want to thank those people for their involvement. I'll accept a motion to accept the members of the election committee. So moved. Brian, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, the next order of business is write-in questions. You have the option on the website under the Board of Directors webpage that you can submit questions to be answered tonight. And the reason we do that is so that we have a little bit more time in case we have to do some research. Then that way we can answer them a little better. Kimberly, do you have those?
I do, I don't know if. Okay. They are dated, so I'm not sure. I'm gonna do my best to determine what is from this most recent one. The first time I've looked at this before, so. First, there is one from site N340. We have ordered a new trailer to be built. The finish date started in June, but has been pushed back twice due to the product delivery delays. They're now expecting a finish date as of August 9. They prepped the lots for concrete pad to place the new trailer on. The question becomes that they've recently become aware that there's a rule that cement trucks are not allowed in the park in July and August. They're requesting a special permit to get that done before the trailer is delivered. They'll be doing it during the week to avoid any inconvenience to the large crowd. A lot only I think is on one side, so the disruption would be very minimal. So that was the comment that was made.
Okay, well, that question will have to be directed to the inspector. That's not something, that we're going to answer at, in the forum.
Okay, we'll just go to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question was to be in regards to the pool, the K486. During the last weekend, her husband and her were waiting in line for their turn at the pool with the 8-year-old grandson. In front of them was a lady and a couple. They asked the husband why they thought the couple didn't go over to the adult pool 5 minutes before the top of the hour. They noticed about 9 people joined the lady, another 8 people joined the couple, so they went from being numbers 4 and 5 and 6 for entrance to 21, 22, and 23. The restrictions are appreciated on the number of people being admitted to the pool, and that didn't affect the entrance, but it has been further back in the line, and many in front did say this was line stating, then we may not have met the cutoff number. So just kind of, so, if they would have been in line for 25 minutes and then they counted out, they would have been more upset, but just want to kind of follow up on that maximum number being met before arriving at the gate when this is going on. Another suggestion they'd like to offer, they looked on Amazon and found a couple options, which husband and they're willing to purchase for the park, which are waterproof tabs that could be given to people as they get into the line. Then as they enter the pool, they drop them into a bucket. When kids were younger, volunteering at school activities, those was done in various capacities and worked well. So that's a suggestion to help with the possible line cutting.
Well, we appreciate that suggestion. We'll pass that on to Rec, and we're continuing to look at that entry procedure. Keep in mind that 4 years ago, people just rushed in. So it's always changing, and Safety and Security Committee is helping coach the rec department. But that is an excellent suggestion, and we'll discuss it with Nikki.
Okay, and then the next item is from 1273. The questions in regard to what the work hours are for the office and sales, trouble receiving any answer, trying to call multiple times without an answer to the office and sales. Do I think that's all?
Yeah.
So about that, and specifically, just today, I know we had an overwhelming response with members coming into the office. We actually did have full staff up front at the front desk, but that just was not enough. They were on the phone all day while responding to the needs of the members in front of them. So I think a lot of this is just adjusting to what was during COVID last year to now adjusting to the normal flow. And we do have overall reduced staff, but even though that member service staff was staffed with both people up front today, and they put people on hold, there were still 11 calls backing up. So the flood of calls is just overwhelming. We're trying our best to respond. So I'd like to ask you to be patient, and if it is multiple times or days that you're calling, that's more of an issue, and we will get back to you as soon as possible.
Okay.
59, actually, there was another one from 1273, in regards to why the pools are so cold, and why we can't spray for bugs. The bathrooms in phase 3 need to be checked and cleaned better. Phase 3 laundry room, there needs to be more machine washers and dryers. Why is phase 3 water more filthy, and would like attention to it?
We'll pass that all on to the maintenance department.
And then site 159, the rule pertaining to associates not being allowed to bring in guests without the member present, would like to be revisited or updated. They see that the rule is appropriate at a young age, but feel there should be an age limit of 5 or perhaps 25 or 30, while in the same an age that some adults do not become responsible or even move out until their mid-20s. Some are already self-sufficient and already have lives and homes of their own. That said, at some point, they can be an asset to the community and be responsible to maintain the properties when needed to bring a fiance or friend to assist. So that was member comment.
Okay, we have looked at that. You know, I know Kelly and I, and Brian, we all looked at that before. The problem is that if a parent says my kid's responsible and they're really not, then we have a problem. We looked for resolutions, and we can look for resolutions again, but we didn't find a good one. There's so many scenarios involved in that, and as it is right now, the member is responsible and they should be here when guests are present.
We had a number of members, there were a number of incidents. There was a number of incidents that there were a number of incidents that happened, and when we contacted the member with the names, most of the time our response was, we didn't say they can come in. So guests were bringing other people in, and the actual members weren't aware, and the response for most of them, we didn't want them in there. So that was one thing too. I had to remember that the members own the site, and so we have to protect their interests as well.
Okay, so another comment is, site 1307. They live across from the swimming pool in phase 3. They're questioning why there are 2 lifeguards posted at the pool when adults are still required to accompany their children. The guards sit under the umbrella, talking. There's a concern of texting. There's little interaction with the people in the pool. 2 years ago, when there was only 1 guard, they were involved with the guests. So the question is, do you have the guests sign in to see how many are attending? Not sure what that last portion of.
Well, you know, it is the rule that if you have children under the age of 12, you have to be in the pool area with them, and having lifeguards doesn't eliminate that. We'll forward that concern to Nikki, you know, about the staffing level and texting, things like that. We'll forward that on.
Okay, and then 2978.
Just to be clear though, too, some parents are under the mistaken idea that the lifeguards function as babysitters. They don't. That's why you have to be in the pool. And if you have children that require a parent, being down in the adult pool area does not put you in the proper pool area. So, it's all there somewhere.
It's in the rules. That's in the rules that they have to be there, and they do, if they see people going from the pool above and they have children and they're coming down below, they address that. If they see it, you know, so they do enforce that.
Okay, site 978, a concern regarding the new lifetime plate changeover for weekenders. Right now, scheduled appointments are booked for 30 minutes, causing problems for members that live quite a ways away. No reason to book appointments for 30 minutes when it takes 5 to do the changeover if it's easy for full-time members to get theirs during the week. So the question is in regard to weekenders are here every weekend, they're full-time but disagree with the new scheduling and would like some suggestions.
But, you know, Jeff talked about that. And, you know, I know they're looking at that. So, you know, we'll continue to look at that.
Okay, pool versus the lazy river, just a thought for the board to replace the indoor pool with the lazy river instead. The lazy river can be enjoyed by all. It will also work well for water exercising for seniors. No clue what the cost difference would be between the river and pool. Just throwing the idea out there as another water activity.
Excellent idea. We'll consider that in our pool meeting on Monday.
Site 14 to 24. Now that the state has opened 100%, will the pools go back to normal?
The pools are where they're going to be, but that's our staffing level. What we learned, and we learned before COVID ever hit, was that we weren't even paying attention. Nobody was counting. And that was something safety and security had looked at in 2019. People were going into that water park area and they weren't really enforcing a number. And the number that we're looking at now is based on staffing and state guidelines, and that's where we're going to be for now. You know, we'll continue to look at it, but if you look at where that 125, what that looks like, when you go by and you think of what it looked like in 2018, I'm saying there was 300-400 people in there, and it was unsafe, and a lot of the parents really appreciate that they can go in there with their kids and the kids can enjoy themselves safely.
Okay, the next one is a little lengthy. I'm going to try my best to summarize.
Okay.
So, it's site 657. So 12 neighbors have spoken to some board members and the president regarding competitive pickleball. And competitive pickleball players in good faith attempt to resolve the disruptive noise and behaviors at the phase 2 pickleball court. So they're concerned that when it begins as early as 7:45 and in the morning with leaf blowers, hooting and cheering, yelling, music, contact pickleball noise continuing to 11 p.m. some night with lights flaring. So the issue is in regards to the pickleball courts and the noise. Yeah, and that's pretty much what a lot of it is referring to.
Yeah, there used to be signs about quiet time and, you know, court usage and things like that. And Larry, the building and grounds, were you going to be looking at that?
Our chair is not with Jeff yet, so we have not had any meeting, no.
Okay, all right, that's one of the things they're tasked with, and there is a quiet time. If there's an issue, you know, they should, you know, that's one way to contact us, but they should be contacting admin. Do you have something to say, Brian?
Yeah, I'll add that, I was approached at the phase 2, and I believe that's the phase 2 pickleball courts that are in question. And I did catch up with Jeff and had a conversation that since that whole area was replaced, all the fencing, grounds, everything, that the signage just hasn't been put back up. He did say we're going to contact Ben and find where those are and we're going to do and get those signs back up.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll make sure the message will be read completely by administrative and maintenance and per president. I just received a client summary.
Okay.
And then K 452, one of the plans for the end of the season with the lake level being so low, will not be able to tie up the boats to the boat docks now. What are the plans for next year for the water level?
I think we're back into,
Are we back in the last year?
yeah, last month.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think we, the board did successfully, do rain dances and lake levels up.
You're welcome.
Not our responsibility to make it stop.
Those weren't good, so I was hoping I would
Okay,
catch
yep,
that.
that's, I know we discussed that one last time.
Okay.
Okay, at this time, we're going to take comments from the members who are present. Is there a microphone down
Yeah,
there?
Larry's getting it over.
Larry's gonna get it, okay. We ask that when you speak, you use the microphone, otherwise the people at home can't hear you, or the people that watch it later can't hear you.
Donna Garrett, site 7001, excuse me. Just a thank you for the bike rack out front. It is appreciated by the bikers for both the beach and the library. So we're grateful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for bringing it up.
We did one thing. We did one thing, yes. Any other questions or comments?
Joel Beckham, line 257. It's about the fee for the boat stakes. My understanding, maybe Pine does not do all that bad financially. And they are, in the positive and the black. So why do we add yet another fee, or an entity that we had?
Anyone want to address that? Okay, I will. Well, the reason, and it's exploratory, and the finance committee is looking at it. There's going to be some pretty expensive repairs and work done on the lake, and we may need extra income to do that. We're talking about, well, excuse me, I was speaking. Okay, please, just don't interrupt, okay? There's going to be some expensive work to be done as far as shore preservation, water levels, things like that. And we're exploring it right now. No final decision has been made.
Are those capital expenses?
It depends on what is being done. Jenny explained that earlier. It depends on what work is being done, whether it's capital or operational. And it will be determined and it will be addressed properly once it's determined.
Can you give an example of each?
I'm not a financial person and do you want to speak?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. This all came up as a result of the lake study committee. They came up with, I don't know, 9 suggestions, for lake quality, shore erosion, several things. If you've listened to a lot of our board meetings or been at our board meeting or read the footprints, or it's been out there that we had a lake study committee and they made several suggestions for the money that is going to have to be spent if we want to improve the quality of our lake and keep what we have, which I believe, and I think a lot of us do, that it's one of our biggest assets. So if you are going to have a bunch of expenses ongoing year after year to do these different things that were recommended, not just by the Lake Study Committee, but by the PLM management that did that entire extensive study, it's going to cost a lot of money and not just extra money that the park has. So the board, that was their idea, rather than, okay, one thing that we could do to spread it over everywhere is to do an assessment. Well, nobody likes that word, assessment have to get voted on. There's a lot to that. So instead, we are coming up and discussing ways to raise these funds to spend this money that needs to be spent over a course of time. So for example, one of the suggestions were the buoys. So we already did that. We didn't do an assessment or a fee increase yet, but that we did do that. The next thing on the list was to add some wells, more wells in the lake. There are currently 4 and they would like 6. One in phase 3 was a suggestion and one in Sailboat Cove. This would improve the water quality because it would move the water, and those wells cost money. To my understanding, depending on the amount of money of those, that would be a capital expenditure. Now, the utilities that it costs to run all the current wells, and if we put more in, that's an operational expense. So there's an example of a difference.
So,
And most of that, and all of that really, is dictated by the IRS, who we get our information from our CPAs on as to what is capital and what is operational. That is not something that we decide. Does that make sense?
yes. So another question would be, so where does the money from the boat tags, our registrations go?
The current money that's
Yes.
in, yep, that goes to, the lake. You know how they come and they spray, the PLM comes in and they already maintain our lake, they spray.
That's an operation.
Yes, so these fees coming in,
So that would go to an
that's
operation.
all operational right now, yes,
And
yes.
the new fees would also,
Some would be operational, some would be capital. Based on that, if this all falls into place and we end up with a new fee, we discussed having a vote every year. We would have to move X amount from operational into capital for X amount, maybe for the wells this year or next year, or maybe the next year we're cleaning up the dam area that needs riprap. That's a very large expense, and that would be a capital expense. We're also talking about doing some riprap over by the chapel and some other areas. It's going to be an ongoing thing. In my understanding, those are larger sums of money, and those would be capital. So we would vote to move that money on an annual basis.
there's a lot of the capital and not
Correct.
operation.
Correct. I don't have those exact numbers. We're still looking at them. And a lot of them, like I say, it's budget numbers. You don't know the numbers until there's.
I'll share an operational expense relative to boat stakes as well. Member services gets countless calls all season long regarding boat stakes. Public safety gets countless calls to dispute and settle and get involved with boat stakes. We did the GPS ordinance around the boat stakes. I don't know if that was operational capital a couple of years ago. There's a lot of stuff. We have 1,100 plus boat stakes on the lake that require a lot of attention from our operational team just to support boat stakes.
But that's been happening year after year.
Yeah, correct. It doesn't get any easier, so.
Right, but financially, we've been able to cover that year after year after year, correct?
Correct. But at the end of the day, it's just another example of the boat stakes need attention.
Right. Can I add to that too? I think one of the things you're noticing too, is a question that we had is member service is having a significant amount of time. We've already added 2 full staff in the last 3 years. There used to be only 1 full staff up front with 1 seasonal staff. We've added 2 full-time staff, and it's still hard to get through. They're answering questions. Members are keeping them on the phone. The questions regarding both dates just goes on and on and on and takes up the time and ties up the office. So we need to absorb that time and that money and try to find ways to resolve those issues as well. So the operational expense that Brian is referring to is a large part of the time and maintenance, just to keep up with those questions. So whether it's regarding hiring another person just to handle both states, because it is an item that takes up a lot of time of our staff.
Just so you understand, the money would come in, you're right, it would come into operations. But operations can move money to capital. You can't move money from capital to operations, you can't move it back to operations if you moved it. So the money would still end up in the capital fund. But we do have a lot of expense coming up on the lake. It's either we're gonna spend the money out or lose the lake.
So how can you guarantee that that Hope State money will be spent on the
I can almost guarantee that money plus some more probably should spend on this lake.
Right now, just with the list of things we have right now, every year, we're gonna have to determine what our plans on the lake that we want to do based on the income we have come in. And we don't foresee that stopping ever. It's gonna be a non-going thing every year. Something's gonna be needed to be done. And the thing about both states is we're not forcing anybody to, pay for both states. I mean, you can give it up if you want. So it's not something you're forced to do. Give it up and pull your vote out and support like the many members already did. So we're trying to stay away from the magic word of. That's not magic. Yeah, not a magic word,
But is there any way to guarantee that that money would go towards the lake?
I don't think you can ever guarantee.
Right.
We don't have
Exactly.
operational / lake. We don't have operational / utility on electrical. That's a line that is expense in the system, that it's going to get bigger as we go forward. Next question.
Chad Barber, like K304. First of all, thank you guys all for your volunteering time to do this. No one gets paid. It's.
I don't get paid.
Maybe you don't. So my question along the lake committee questions, and I'm glad you kind of went along that, question the same thing. Real quickly, that both states, I would say, my opinion, if you ask for it, would be that, I don't play golf, but I pay for the golf course, right? Because I can the amenity at any time. And we all that the previous meeting meant that the lake is our biggest asset. So to put it being a huge goal would not be meaningful, I would think. Everyone that actually really can use the lake. I don't golf, but I play a golf system. It's okay. I'm okay with that. Maybe that's not the, probably, everyone's favorite thing, but it is what it is, and I recognize the need to have it. So I would say if there's any kind of fee, which there's going to be because it is talking big money, that it's got to be across the board. Everybody has to pay their share. Would be my opinion on that. To have just a boat owner is not realistic. I'm also a boat owner, so I guess I'll get either way, but that's what happened. So along with the lake study committee, one of my questions was writing the recommendation, and I did on that. They're still in process, so I appreciate that. It's still ongoing. It wasn't just banning ballast use and then see what happens. Along that line, though, we have a temporary ban on ballast use. What do we do? Okay, temporary until what? Then what happens? So for this year, then what's the assessment? What's the line that says, okay, this was coming damage or this wasn't causing damage? Who's assessing that? Can a company come back out or who's making that decision?
Kelly?
Yeah, I can talk.
There you are. Mike.
I got one right here. So as the lake committee board liaison, I guess I can touch on this. The lake committee is meeting every Tuesday. As of right now, there's no solid plan to determine the damage that was done or is
happening. There's research that's being talked about from other lakes in other states. But right now we don't have a quantitative or qualitative way to measure whether there was damage being done to the lake or not.
So it's temporary,
Temporary until next year.
and we won't know what we're basing that decision on.
Correct.
Okay, and then, just for the record, I know you knew that before, I don't want to wait vote, so I'm not part of that, I like things to be, for, logical.
Mhm.
So, in that report, Dallas went out.
No.
So we paid a company to come and give us a bunch of ideas, with an idea that wasn't recommended by the professional judge. That kind of money. And we don't have a way to, so we did it, done, okay, no problem, it's done. But we're not tracking, how can we pass a rule and then not quantitate, does that make sense?
Yeah.
What are we saying, okay, it's, can't do it, got it, no problem. But is there a line we drew, how to grow a line we drew to say, okay, if it's eroded more than this, it's not working, or it is working. It seems that there's not really, based on the answer, really a reason we did it and kind of see what happens.
And and this year is gonna be a tough year with, the really low water levels and then the high water levels, so it's gonna be hard to determine.
Now, for me, my decision to vote the way I did was because everything that they presented us 9 studies, and one of that recommendation was to ban that surveillance functions. And that was brought to us, that I started researching, and everything that I read, a majority, I was going to change it to a majority of things that I read by other states and other lakes that should not be operating in lakes that are less than 15 feet deep. You should be, and there was a range from 200 to 300 feet away from shores. The boats, based on where the engine was, what it would do was when you're operating in the balance mode, it lowers it down, and those propellers shoot everything down into the soil and disrupt it. Now, there's other major studies going on right now, and some of them, they hope to have results by sometime this year. Hopefully, we don't know. So the decision for me was, as long as we have the majority of that information that says it's not probably good, we decided to suspend it just for this year to get final outcome from the other states and the other lakes that they're studying to quantify whether it is that way or not. So for me, that was a smart thing to do, in my opinion. As far as the lake study, the company that did that told us up front they weren't going to get into, well, this boat does this and this boat does that. We'll tell you what your lake is, we'll tell you what the recommendations are, but they weren't going to start bashing boats. So for the reason you're looking at the reports that they never said anything about it, they told us up front they weren't going to do that.
So where did it come from then?
Where do I come from?
The committee,
Banning the
the proposal came from the committee.
The Lake Study Committee.
I think Joel's answered that, and where did that come from? It came from the Lake Study Committee that kind of boiled that 98-page down assessment of the lake, boiled that down to some of the details that came out of that, and the boat manufacturers and the state of New Hampshire, the state of Minnesota, the state of Wisconsin, they're all studying this information now. Boat manufacturers are also getting into the mix, saying, what should we be putting on boat recommendations? So we kind of said, let's not ban it permanently. Let's just suspend it this year so we can watch all the studies that are going on in the different states, as Kelly was saying, but also the manufacturers are starting to weigh in on, this depth, this distance from shore, this type of operational of the boat. And when we average 7 foot deep in the lake, it gave us an opportunity to say, let's just wait and see what the experts say.
So we're going to base our decision here based on other lakes.
Other lakes are still
Okay.
in the water.
No, wait,
Yes.
Chad's talking and you're talking. If you have another comment, it's not open forum, okay? Chad's talking,
Sorry.
okay? So, you know, you can, if you want to, but.
That's no problem. I understand that. I don't agree, and that's okay. It's no problem, no hard feelings. I just think that, so the manufacturer says, yeah, well, easy goes to get easy to golf cart. We don't listen to that one. We drive a car down the road, we break down roads, there's cost to repair. I'm all about repairing the lake. I'm all about this, whatever step, whatever you want to call it. I know there's gonna be money, but again, we all agree that's the biggest aspect here. Cost for it. So to eliminate amenities without just cause, that's problematic. You know, the answer that's just my thing. Thank you.
I really appreciate your input, and just know we're not done, we're still looking at things.
Okay.
Just curiosity, what permanent assessment would you be willing to pay for the lake?
That's a great question. I would be willing to pay, at least I pay for the golf course I don't use. I don't have financial, that is a little magical. To further discuss that, no problem.
Thank you.
Towards K233. About 3.5 hours ago, I was in Mason, Michigan, driving at 68 mile an hour percentage, trying to get back into this meeting. Well, I was a little late. Unless I missed it, was there a reason given, or was the park president's absence planned or unexpected?
Plan.
Was planned. With that being said, sorry, excuse me. I imagine he's still here. With that being said, we have one paid person, Kimberly Williams, and 9 volunteers who were able to make this meeting. And it just, it's probably across some of your minds, this absenteeism by our park president, who answers to this board, is accountable to this board. I think that it should be addressed. I'm not asking anyone to speak or comment on it from the board, but I just wanted to make that point.
So I have an open door policy. You have an issue with my absence, which I would challenge you that my absence is not. I'm present. I am engaged in the park. If you have an issue with my absence, or you think I'm absent, come set up a meeting with me. I don't have any issues with that. I'm working 6 days a week to better this park. I am on calls when after hours. I am here on a regular basis. So I would challenge your comment that you're absolutely out of line and not educated on my hours and my engagement in the park.
In response, with all due respect, you and I had great conversations over the past couple of years. It's just I want to speak while I'm emotionally bought into what my feelings are. I don't want to do it on a Facebook keyboard on a couple pages later on. I absolutely will not address that on social media. So I just want to bring it here.
Well, and again, I appreciate that because I have seen that on social media. I have called members that have wanted to engage in that conversation in social media rather than asking me a question. I don't have any issues. You got a question about my hours, my absenteeism, which I can challenge you. I'm not absent. Set up a meeting. I got an open door policy. Let's have a conversation.
I'm going to make one comment on that. This meeting is our meeting. And I understand that in years past, the park president ran the meeting. The park president doesn't run the meeting anymore. This is the board's meeting. So that's how I view that. And his being here remotely was planned in advance. So I'm acceptable.
And I totally appreciate that, Ellen, and had I been made aware of that change of procedure, I then thought a little less about having to say something.
Okay, no, and that's something we have transitioned to, not me, the previous chair. And when Jeff came on board, Jeff may not even be aware that Jean used to run the meetings. We run the meetings.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Any other comments?
Thanks for the work you do. We appreciate it.
With no further comments?
So move.
Second, we're adjourning. Signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Yes.
Not nay.
Yeah.